Okay, Stephen, could you just tell me a bit whether you think there's anyone using social media and journalism effectively at the moment?
Well, again, I think I go back to saying Mashable in terms of where they tweet and where they are going in terms of a lot of the user content blogs. I'm a real big fan because they seem to deliver a lot of the information immediate. It's a lot of relevant information, and I guess in my case, because I like to stay in a lot of technology, social media, and those kind of levels, I think they do a real good job in terms of that. They've also become really journalists, so there is no doubt in terms of people. I know that they're also on CNN, for example, so they're very well represented in that case.
Do you have any tips for journalists using social media at all?
No, I think it's the same. It's really a matter of interesting content. It's making the angle of the news interesting to the viewer. It needs to be honest. Again, going back to the whole idea of transparency. But I think it really is that if you base it in terms, anytime you go on to any kind of social media, part of that has to be part of your personality coming out, even whether it's journalistically or whether it's basically a basic blog. And I think it's that being able to relate that back.
And can you summarize for people on this blog just a little bit about your thoughts on citizen journalism?
Yeah, well, I think the big piece I have is the struggle in terms of the name citizen journalism and relating it back to what has been defined as citizen journalism as opposed to really user-generated content in the news. So it's difficult. I think in the scheme of things, citizen journalism happens that if you're in the right place at the right time with the right technology and the ability to formulate a message back in terms of what's happening, if that's what's considered citizen journalism, then so be it. But it certainly can't be something that can happen ongoing, because I think those criteria all have to be interrelated, and I think being in the right place at the right time is pretty difficult, especially as a citizen, because you're not doing it for any gain other than just being there. And again, the message in the piece that we held out, of course, being the Miracle on the Hudson, was an extremely large news event. So smaller events, smaller interest pieces will be more of the cat stuck in the tree type of story. They'll be great for human interest, but not necessarily citizen journalism.
And the final question is, do you think that online journalism will supersede or be sort of at equal value as the traditional newspaper media?
I think in terms of equal value. I don't think it'll supersede it, because that was the question probably asked when radio journalism started coming out, and there was the question that would television supersede, and newspaper journalism is still going relatively strong. I think the internet is another channel, and it's a channel that maybe a newer generation will adopt. It's a channel that probably addresses news better because it can give short information and then of course follow up with deeper information, and it can do it in a way that is easier for people like myself to digest, because if I'm looking just for highlights, I can get it. But I don't think by any ways that it would replace traditional journalism in any respect. It'll complement it.
And what are the top sort of Twitter feeds that the news organisations that you follow on Twitter?
I follow various. I follow CNN because it gives me. There's a comfort zone in terms of getting some of the news that's coming back. I do follow Mashable. I follow Engadget because of technology, and I follow some of the local breaking news, and I follow some of the reporters within CNN.